So some practice essentials. First of all, be well prepared. Don't attempt graduated exposure until you thoroughly understand the concepts in these workbooks. And don't forget your flashcard. Write everything down. Be prepared. Be ready for anything that comes up. Use an exposure worksheet. It's so important to take this seriously, to get everything down on paper. And it means you can identify the thoughts that you usually have, and you can start to restructure your thoughts. You can monitor everything, and you can look over your worksheet on a daily basis. Stick to a well-defined plan. Take time to create your fear hierarchies. A lot of people don't do this. They just read these books and they think, hey, this information makes sense. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to face that thing that I've feared for so long. And then they try it and maybe it's too much too soon. They feel a bit more anxious. That makes them think, well, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I'm no good at this. Maybe I've got something else wrong with me. Why risk that? Stick to a well-defined plan. Create your fear hierarchies carefully. Put them in the right order. Just go for situations that you can produces some anxiety, but not too much, that you can handle. Do it very, very gradually. Okay? Consider any problems that might arise. So when planning exposure, consider any difficulties that might arise. It means that you're forewarned. If, let's say, you're going to the shopping centre and you think, well, what could happen in a shopping centre that has caught me out before, that really made me very anxious when I met such and such? So what if I do meet somebody? What will I do? All right, and you may have a plan in your head what to do about that. All right, or what if there's a long queue at the checkout? So if you think about it beforehand and you're prepared for it, it won't catch you out. That's the secret. You may also want to use a support person. So if the idea of exposures seems too overwhelming, then you may want to start by taking a friend or a family member along. And as I said before, you just, it's not that you're using them to feel safe. You're using them to help you push your boundaries. All right, so you're trying to go further than you usually go, but to begin with, you enlist the help of a friend to help you do that. Then once you gain more confidence about being in the situation, hearing the noises, seeing the people, feeling yourself in that situation, maybe you haven't been in that situation for a long time, that'll help you get used to it. Then you can tell your friend, right, tomorrow will you come with me but stay in the car? I'm going to come in here, I'm going to try it again myself. And make sure that this person knows exactly what your objective is, and that their role is to encourage you but not to push you too far. So they've got to be quite in the middle somewhere. You get some people and they're saying, no, you can do it, come on, and then you push the person too far, puts them off for another while. But then you get somebody else who says, okay, you're getting anxious, let's go. It's got keep them well informed, even let them read the books. More practice essentials. Regular exposure is absolutely essential. People that I see recover the quickest are the ones that do this very carefully. They plan it, they do it clinically, they do it gradually, but they do it every day. It's so important. If you leave too much time in between exposure practice, you can build up your anxiety again, and you kind of lose the confidence that you gain by doing it regularly. All right. So with regular exposure, you're far more likely to get used to a situation, and you get even bored with it. I've had people that say, I've been into town so many times on the bus now, I don't want to go into town anymore. It's so boring. And that's a wonderful thing, because they've been terrified of going into town for years maybe, and now they're just bored, which is great. So exposure is not an endurance test. Please keep this in mind. The whole point of exposure is that It teaches you about panic and the fact that your catastrophic predictions don't actually happen. So the problem is people with anxiety see this as a terrible thing that's, inflicted upon them, that they have to do this exposure, face their fear, face the demons and all that stuff. It's not like that. This is for you. All right? This is not something that's being forced upon you. You're deciding, you're taking charge. You're saying, I'm going to go towards this, test it, understand it, work with it, experiment with it, put my understanding to the test, try out the skills, see that this is all, the truth about what I'm reading. And if some days you can't do it, don't beat yourself up. That can happen, okay? You're not going to feel confident about doing this every day. Just try again as soon as you feel able. And remember, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Do it as gradually as you want to, just as long as you do it. Please keep that in mind. You don't have to just, do big exposures all the time in the hope that you're just going to overcome everything in one go. Why not just take it gradually and work it out so that you can be pretty sure that you'll be able to do that. When you write it down, you look at it, you can say, yeah, that makes me feel slightly anxious, but I do think I should be able to do that. And then you do it and you repeat it, and then you're confident. You say, yeah, I did it. I can do that. And then you go to your next step. Can you see that that's much better than picking a high level anxiety situation, saying, right, I'm really going to do it. I'm definitely going to do this. I'm going to overcome this forever. And then you go and do it. And, when anxiety strikes and it's overwhelming, all that goes out the window. You just run for the hills. You go back home and you think, I can't do this. I'm no good at this. And actually that's not true. It's just you've done too much too soon. Okay? It's very important. Another important thing is making the commitment. Right? Because exposure is about facing anxiety, it's extremely tempting to find reasons not to do it. I have heard every single reason in the book. Mostly that everyday life, so many important things were more important to do than this. Again, priorities. What is more important? If this isn't important to do, what is then? Because this is taking over your life. It's taking up all your time as it is. This can cut down the amount of panic that you have. This can help you overcome panic for good. So is that not very important? So without exposure, your fear is on hold. It's the pros and cons. You don't do this, your fear's on hold. You're not quite sure. You're reading workbook number 1, workbook number 2. You're thinking that makes sense. But you're still not completely convinced. There's lots of situations are making you anxious. You're still avoiding. And you can go on like that and on like that. But if you do this exposure practice very gradually, you will get used to situations extremely quickly. Before you know it, you'll be doing all the things that you haven't been doing for a long time. So avoidance versus exposure. The problem is avoidance can work in reducing a panic attack. It makes sense if you're feeling more anxious because you're in a crowded restaurant. Then leaving the restaurant will reduce your anxiety, because a lot of your anxiety is not just about the symptoms, but it's also about fear of being seen to be anxious in front of other people and so on. So when you remove yourself from that situation, that anxiety is removed, your anxiety levels drop, and then you'll think, well, I'm feeling a bit better. That stops you sending fear signals through the body, and so your anxiety reduces. And that's the reason that people get locked into safety behaviours, because they really do believe that it works. But the problem is, you don't really overcome your fear. Your life is still very limited, okay, and the fear remains completely intact. Even though leaving a situation, avoidance helped reduce the fear in that moment, you're left with the anticipatory anxiety about future panic attacks. So nothing's really changed, all right? On the other hand, exposure is initially a frightening prospect, but the rewards are immense, okay? You get your life back and you lose the fear altogether, all right? So which one do you want to choose? This is up to you. This is your life. This is your decision. This is not something that's forced upon you. Exposure makes sense. Exposure is the right way to go about this, all right? So lastly, you may want to see a cognitive therapist. It can be very helpful to have somebody face-to-face once a week taking you through this, monitoring your progress, helping you with problems, clarifying anything that you don't understand, all right?